And we are live. This is episode 18 of the PHU Dynasty podcast. This was an unexpected podcast. I'm calling it an emergency podcast. This is a state of emergency in the PHU Dynasty League. This is something that we did not see coming. This is something that the league is, I'm sure, league wide is blown away by. Let's just quickly start off with just one video here really quick just to start off the podcast.
Good evening. With the first pick in the 2021 PHU Dynasty Rookie Draft, the London Steelers Nanny select running back Najee Harris.
That bitch is gone!
He's got here!
He just got there! He's just got there!
He's got here, Eric! No!
They shipped him off. He was there less than 5 weeks. He didn't even make it to week 5. He just got here. And Alex is back in full rebuild again. Just
really
keeping it coming. And just when you thought the rebuild was over, it's back. So, to preface this, that you have any of you that haven't seen this yet, the trade happened between the Muskrats and the Kentucky Elk, which great job by the Elk, by the way. Just gonna put it out there. But here's the trade. It's Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, and Cole Kmet. All quality players, in my opinion. Quality dynasty assets.
Quality dynasty assets is a good way to put it.
For a 22 first, a 23 first, a 22 fourth, and Michael Pittman. So I am just stunned right now because this is just, we had all talked about this whole offseason. Okay, Alex is raring to go here. He's fired up. He's trying to make some wins, get some wins out there. And this just completely has flipped again, back the other way to rebuild. So Vince, what is your immediate reaction to this?
So my immediate reaction, just looking at the trade, was in a vacuum, the value is not that bad. I value Najee Harris somewhere around 2 firsts. I think that's pretty fair for his assessment, especially kind of because I consider Dustin's first between 3 and 8, which is a pretty decent range to be at. So I think for the 2 firsts for Najee isn't so bad, and then the 4th and Michael Pittman for Pollard and Kmet, I can get behind that. My kind of issue with this trade is in where the teams stand. So Alex does not have his first next year. So right now he's tanking for, I would say, 2nd because he already beat Tibbs once. And I'm not so sure Tibbs will get any wins this year, quite frankly. He's been really bad.
Alex last week.
Yeah, he did outscore Alex last week. Alex had it in the 70s last week. That's true. So, I mean, I guess it's anything's possible, as Kevin Garnett once said. But I still feel that when they play again in a few more weeks, because they played it the first week of the season, so they will play again. If Alex doesn't lose that game, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be really bad for him because he has to get the first overall pick, because if not, he's stuck with 2nd. But you know what? I guess in the end of the day, 2nd isn't that bad. But however, next year he doesn't have his pick. So I feel like we already stunted the regrowth for right there in and of itself, because Najee was supposed to be the thing that in 2023 helped jumpstart him to a reasonable, like maybe in contention for a playoff spot, but that's obviously not in the cards anymore. So now I think that it's like, okay, so we're going to get a player this year, hope some guys mature, kind of have a stunted year next year unless Dustin falls out and gives you a great pick. And then kind of the year after that in 2024, we can get the rebuild back on track. But by then we've wasted how many years for what? And we're already, by the way, mind you, in year 3 of this rebuild. This rebuild isn't like Tibbs's where it just started. This started in 2019. This is older than the pandemic, this rebuild. and I feel like we kind of just started back at square one.
Shouldn't we be further along in 3 years? You think like this is like, what was it? Who's the guy? John Kasich this is just nuts. You know, this is just nuts.
It is a little just nuts though. But
this makes week 10 Tibbs versus Alex. We're gonna have to get VP of Legal Services Justin Senior watching that game like a hawk.
That lineup needs
Right?
to be
That lineup.
vetted. Needs to be vetted clearly to make sure that there is no cheating, because there will be a lot of shenanigans.
The United Nations need to look at this, Vince. It's gonna be all right. We have another contributor here, Sean O'Shea.
Oh, Sean O'Shea.
We're gonna bring him in here. This is like a CNN fucking election night podcast here. We're just bringing people in. Sean, what do you think about this?
I'm just as baffled as you, Sean. Sean, what do you think about this from the Alex side of this trade? How do you feel?
I think it was a holy shit. I'm only 40 points ahead of Tibbs. What the fuck am I doing? Let's just
realize that maybe this should have been the plan all the way along. And this goes back, I mean, just going back to before the draft, this goes back to the plan that he didn't have. He didn't have a plan, anyone. He literally told me he was going to draft Kyle Pitts. Then he told me he was going to draft Jamar Chase. Then ends up drafting Najee Harris. Then just trades him away before week 5. There's no plan.
There's no plan.
This is
There's no plan.
borderline talk bad. And I want to say good things about. No, I don't. I don't want to say good things about Alex Smith. But I mean, I want to believe that we were getting somewhere, and it's just not happening. I don't know what to do. I'm so
Year 3 of this rebuild, and we have nothing to show for it but more draft picks towards the future, and the same owner who's messed them all up. This is like watching Al Davis just squander picks before his death.
And I think the worst part for me is when you look at the two rebuilding teams, look at all the capital that Tibbs has acquired over the last couple of months. I mean, he's going to be further ahead in the rebuild just based on capital alone. And he's just started. He just started.
Yeah, the only knock I have on Tibbs' rebuild is that he kind of started after this year's draft. I feel like if he would have got some picks for this year to have some rookies other than Terrace Marshall, I feel like we're in year 0 of Tibbs' rebuild, like the prequel to his fucking draft. So or like to his future of his rebuild. Yeah, it is. We're kind of the beginnings of Tibbs, but I'm really excited for what he's going to do in the future, because he has a ton of capital, and when he's made picks in the past, they haven't been that bad. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with. So I'm excited for Tibbs' rebuild, but that's not what this emergency podcast is about. We're not here for fucking Tibbs. We're here for these two guys. So the Dustin side of the trade,
I like it.
Winner.
I like it.
I like it, except that he's 1-3 and just gave up his picks. So
that is questionable.
It's not next year's, right? Isn't it 2023?
It's 22 and 23.
And
I thought it was 23, 24.
No, so it is this year. So Alex got recent picks. So I like I said, the value that Alex got, I don't think is bad. I could see how someone could slant towards Dustin's side though in this trade, but I still think the value that Alex got isn't terrible. However, Dustin, like I said, he's 1-3, so he's playing with fire a bit, but this could be the spark he needs to get back into the playoff conversation. You know, he's one game back from Justin at 2-2. So, you know, Dustin is playing Dan, another really good matchup this week for another team trying to climb and claw his way back into the playoff spot in Dan. And then you have the Elk versus a current number 1 in the Lambs, but the Lambs have kind of had guys like a Turnstile and IR with CMC and Mixon now, so those are some really good matchups I'm looking forward. Maybe Sean, how do you feel about this from Dustin's chances? Do you think this boosts him back into the playoff conversation?
I need to look at what his roster looks like now.
I gotta be honest with you guys. I really do believe that this is probably, if you just look at it on paper, one of the best running back rooms in this league at this point. Because you got
Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, you got Alvin Kamara, Damian Harris, Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery just got hurt, and now Najee Harris. I mean, that's deep as shit. If those guys are healthy, I mean, that's unbelievable.
You also, two guys that are just like startable too that you didn't mention was Samaje Perine and Larry Roundtree, who've had value this year because Larry Roundtree spelled Eckler a lot. We just got Pollard, yes, again, like he has.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Well, like, that's the thing is, from Alex's perspective, Cole Kmet and Tony Pollard, yes, they're throw-in type of players, but they're both young and have upside. Those are the guys you want to keep in a rebuild.
Why is he the one doing throw-ins when he doesn't have a roster?
There is nothing. You should not be throwing in guys like this, I feel like. I mean, think about it. If Zeke goes down at all, I mean, Dustin just picks up another RB1. It's just like it's going to be crazy deep if things hit, especially Cole Kmet for Dustin's team is pretty important when you look at his roster. He's got Robert Tonyan as a starter who's been super up and down. CJ Uzomah, Hunter Henry, like he needs a guy, and Cole Kmet with Justin Fields could end up panning out. Like we don't know what that is yet.
Did we mention that he also has Kareem Hunt and Zach Moss?
I didn't talk about Moss, but I mentioned Hunt. I forgot he had Zach Moss, who's been solid.
Zach Moss has been pretty good, especially because Devin Singletary's fumbled, I think, 4 fumbles. Is I think the
3
breakdown.
weeks over 12 points in a row.
Yeah, after his healthy scratch in week 1, which shocked the fucking world. But
yeah, I did not expect that. But I mean, he's got guys, and not only that, his receiver group, he's pretty injured right now. He's got Rashad Bateman on IR, but he's also got Russell Gage out. He's got some other guys out. Calvin Ridley's out.
Calvin Ridley's out this week. Yeah.
But I mean, like when these guys get back, I mean, hopefully this kind of goes back to the point that he's 1-3. If he can just basically weather the storm here and get some of these guys back, I mean, I like this team a lot. I think it's gonna be a good team. So
I agree. I think it could definitely make a run deeper in the season. He's playing with fire, like I said. That this pick, if he gets one and done, he could give Alex pick 5 or something like that. Maybe he misses the playoffs. He gives him pick 4. In that case, we'll see how next year, and we'll go from there. But Najee Harris could very easily be the key that gets him into the 6 or 5 seed, maybe even the 4, and then propels him even further from that point on to a playoff win or 2. And in that case, this is a tremendous win for Dustin. I think overall, if I had to give this a grade for each side, I'd give it a C- or D+ for Alex. I'd probably give it a B+ for Dustin. If I had to give you guys a
I
grade.
really do believe, like you said at the beginning, like the value, if you look at it just on paper without knowing any of the team background, yeah, it really does match up value-wise to me. So it's not about who won the trade. It's more about where these teams are headed and what's going on right now with their situations. For Dustin, we talked about it on previous podcasts. We didn't know what the fuck Dustin was doing. Like we didn't know where this team was going because he was acquiring picks, and then we didn't know if he was going to try to like rebuild at some point or if he was going to just go all in. Now we have a pretty good answer what he wants to do. He's trying to win this motherfucker. So, I mean,
yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, now his draft capital is not it's not as outrageous as it has been in the past. And now, like you just said, it seems like now we're actually trying to win the thing, trying to take a big bite at this apple and not just half-ass it and take the easier conservative assets for later in draft picks. So
and Dustin still does have a draft pick this year. He's got yours.
Correct. No, that's why I said like he did a good job of thinning it out, because I think he had 9 draft picks was my count before this trade this year. So we saw a roster crunch again this year. We were going to see another one. We still might, but I think this was a good move. That's why I said for Dustin, it's playing with fire a little bit, but I think I prefer risk-oriented moves in this league than the conservative moves in this league. So a risk like this, I like more than Alex kind of pulling the plug on his rebuild already.
Did you guys talk about Najee Harris already? You start.
No, take the floor.
Hey, would you guys like to take a guess at what player in the NFL is leading the league in targets?
Oh, it's got to be Najee. They target him all the time.
So, Eric, you're muted.
Yeah, Eric, you do sound a little muffled.
I'm right on the mic.
There we go.
Jeez, I got to get up on this thing.
He's back.
No, we didn't really talk about Najee.
The offensive line is trash. He's literally leading the league in targets. Like he's still
the only thing keeping him afloat. I have him in regular league, and literally all he's good for at this point is targets.
If you've watched any of their games, it's not his fault. Like he looks,
Ben is atrocious.
Nice.
That offense stinks.
Yeah, Ben can't throw the ball, and they cheat up.
Baller out there. It takes like 3 guys to get him down.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know how you trade a guy like that. Even if it's like trying to trade like Saquon. Like he's probably like talent wise the best running back in the league, but
my issue is he's not at peak value right now. I mean, if you get like a couple of good games from Najee, maybe like a 100-yard game with like 5-7 catches, something like that. like
He's
his
gonna get up there
value would be
like-
worth more because he saw
Yeah,
it.
he's gonna throw like McCaffrey. If he has a couple of those games. Like,
I mean,
I definitely think I agree. If Alex was shopping Najee, he did a bad job of just. I feel like he took the first offer that got to him because I think other people would have paid more for Najee, quite frankly, as the season goes on and people want to make another big run at it all. I think a lot of people would have paid more than he did right now. So
I would love to bookmark this trade from like maybe like the beginning of next year, like next season.
just to see.
I'm really interested to see what this looks like. And
That's why we made an emergency podcast about it, Sean.
yeah,
So we
document
can
our
easily go back-
thoughts.
We can easily go back and then realize if we're smart or stupid. So
I feel like this is just gonna look real bad for Alex in like a year.
yeah, I feel like this. I mean, especially in his situation. I mean, when is Alex gonna win, guys? At this point, you said
The
2027.
2027, yeah, it's a 2027 plan now.
That's not even that. That's realistic.
I think
really
this is a like a super long game where he just gives his dynasty team over to like the child that he hasn't had yet.
This is
And I
a
think that's the plan,
generational
is like,
rebuild.
okay, it's just like the stock market.
Gosh, generational rebuild sounds like a Dance Gavin Dance song.
He's trying to get 20 to 35 picks right now.
At this point, I just don't see any way that, especially the roster he has, and then the receivers like the Denzel Mims, the Bryan Edwards really hasn't hit yet. Like these guys just haven't hit. It's just not going to be anytime soon. It can't be. It can't be. And then this brings me back to the Trevor Lawrence trade up. Oh, it's so bad. It looks even worse now.
So one last note I have on this trade is thought of this when this came in. I thought of the line in Rise of Skywalker when Poe, yeah, right, when Poe goes, somehow Palpatine has returned. Awful line, and it's my thought when I saw this trade was somehow Alex's pick is appreciated in value because I just thought there's no way it was possible that it could have gotten, because I thought locked in, this is a top 2 pick in 2023, locked in. Now I'm like, Tibbs might hit a few picks. He's got like 5 fucking firsts this year. He could be easily beat Alex out next year. Boom, first overall, just to move up 3 spots. 3 spots. First overall
for Trevor Lawrence. Oh, it's tough. It's tough, guys.
His head coach is figuring booties in Ohio.
I can't wait till we get Rural Meyer. I'm done with Urban Meyer. It's so bad.
He is atrocious.
I don't even want to talk about that shit. This is irrelevant.
This is not about that.
We're gonna have to hang up before we start talking about
if you guys have anything else to say, I do want to say one last note, Eric.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Anything else on this trade?
It's all you.
No, I have nothing else to say. We've said our piece on it. I was just going to say, Eric, real quick, we got a big matchup, you and I, this week.
We sure do.
Battle of 3-1s right now. My team is pretty much Aaron Rodgers, Waller, and 3 receivers, so I'm excited to see how it turns out.
It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited. I have a couple of my receivers I'm just not thrilled with. Bobby Trees and Brandon Ayuk we're supposed to be reliable flex guys, and now we've gone back to Kenny G and the sack solos. So
I've been the benefactor of that too with Debo and Cooper Kupp.
I know it's like the opposite. Like your team has gotten all of the work out of that.
Of those 2 offenses, yeah, like it's just been those 2 guys all the time. And in a few minutes here, about 15 minutes, we're gonna get the kickoff, and it's gonna be Bobby Trees versus Kupp again. And I'm really excited for that one. It's a good night. It's a good night of football, and to kick it off with a shocking big blockbuster trade like that doesn't get much better.
We've never had this happen in emergency podcasts, and frankly, I love these spur of the moment podcasts. If I can just get people on this is what it should be. It's just whenever we get something that is worth talking about, and of course we talked about week 1 and 2 already. Maybe after week 5 we'll get something going. Do kind of a quarter way check-in type of deal for the season, and. Yeah, so thanks whoever tuned into this, whoever wants to watch this in the future, just to realize what just happened and try to process what just happened in this league. I want another State of the Union. I'm going to call out Alex right now, and I want to hear what is the thought process. I want this. So Alex, if you're listening out there, get your booty on this podcast. I gotta hear this. So
Hey, future Vincent, when you watch this podcast, I want you to know that Chris Greer, if he hasn't been fired, we need to storm the Dolphins building. We need to gather people up. Think of the emotion you felt in this year, 2021, when our team is atrocious because Chris Greer blows draft pick after draft pick, just like Alex Morales. Just first round pick after first round pick out the window for garbage people like Austin Jackson. That is right out of the Dante Moncrief style playbook of a guy that has just raw ability, and we'll coach him up. Don't worry about it.
Historia Green Breckham shit.
It doesn't fucking happen. It doesn't happen.
Some Trump in January vibes here.
It does not happen. So future
We'll
Vincent,
storm
we're
the
storming the training facility if he's not fired by 2023.
What's their training facility called? Storm.
It's now the Baptist Health Center, and it's now
Storm the
right by the
Baptist Health Center.
stadium. So it's perfect. We can go right from the health center to the stadium, and if anyone gets hurt, we're right at the health center. There's no problems.
How's it
No
not called like
problems.
the aquarium or something? Like, what the fuck?
Because money talks, and that's a fucking like center medical facilities around here. But that's not what this is about. Alex is gonna need a medical facility after this bad fucking trade.
This is bad.
It's
In our humble opinions, it's not good. So Alex, once again, State of the Union Part 2, please. I need it. We all need it.
But I like Pittman. I do like the
That's the thing.
Pittman.
We don't hate. I don't hate any of the players
like
in this
Pittman.
trade.
I like Pittman.
I like them all.
I
They're
like
all
Pittman.
fine. But this is just. There's
2027 plan.
If you could just, Alex, if you could just present some sort of semblance of a plan on a scroll or whatever you got on a piece of index card, whatever, a fucking CVS receipt, whatever you got.
Alex is building this team for his stepdaughter's boyfriends. Okay, he is building this team so his stepdaughter's boyfriends can have a good shot at learn
rebuild.
fantasy. That's what he's doing. He's gonna try and show them, be like, look how many draft picks I have. I won 30 years ago, but don't worry about that. These are going to be the draft picks for you guys to build a dynasty. That's what he's going for.
Who wins first, Alex in the Dynasty League or me in the regular league? It's going to be bad.
Ooh, I don't know.
It's not looking good this year either.
Speaking of, Alex and I have a trade, $10, or a bet, $10. Who wins a title in Dynasty first? So I feel pretty good about that right now.
Just hand it over. All right, boys, we're going to wrap this up. We got baseball to watch. We got Thursday night
football
to watch. We got everything to watch. So
Good night.
thanks, guys, for hopping on. And
thanks for having
we'll
us.
see y'all later.
See you guys.